What is going on, friends? Welcome in to the Crosstown Classic Edition here of Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. That is right, Sox fans, Cub fans, stand up Chicago. It is time for the Crosstown Classic, and this is one of those years where both teams look pretty interesting, and it's going to be an entertaining series. I am excited. We are about, I'd say about half an hour from first pitch, so thought we'd take some time to spend together and enjoy each other's company and talk a little bit about Cubs versus Sox. So why don't you sit back, relax, and enjoy it? We, of course, got our handy tea, and we got each other for another few minutes to talk some sports. So why don't we start off with what we got going on here? We have the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Cubs. The White Sox at 34-36, the Cubs at 39-32. The White Sox obviously have been flirting with 500 for the last few weeks, so it's kind of cool to see how much they've developed and how much they've come across. And obviously the Cubs had a pretty rough, a 500 road trip, but didn't look the best when it came to what happened in Los Angeles and Colorado. So both teams coming in here with kind of needing to win games. Depending on how you see it, like both these teams, you want to see the development from the White Sox, right? And the American League is horrible, and your division's not all that much better with Minnesota leading it. So the idea of possibly being in the playoff push in 2019 is pretty good. Now, I know there's a lot of people who want to do I guess it's an algorithm now that they found in baseball where you kind of measure the wins you do have and the losses you have and whether that your record really signifies the type of team you are. And apparently the White Sox don't have the best of wins, but they're still wins. And, that's important. I think this team with my eyes, maybe not what a computer tells me, maybe not what the papers tell me sometimes, but with my own eyes, I think the White Sox have done anything you can ask for them. And obviously with the Cubs, it comes down to timely hitting and a bullpen. That's what they need. But why don't we dig a little bit more of what we have going on here? The lineups did come out earlier. We do see for the Chicago Cubs, we have Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, Jason Hayward, Victor Caratini. Oh, so no Wilson Contreras today. Carlos Gonzalez, Cole Hamels, and Daniel Descalso going ahead to play second base and finishing off the lineup. And for your Chicago White Sox, Garcia, Anderson, Abreu, McCann, Jimenez, Rodon, Cordell, Sanchez, and Nova. So will Eloy have a home run in these two games in the north side? I think Eloy might ball out these two games. And, Cole Hamels the type of pitcher who give up some home runs. And go figure, here in the city of Chicago, we're finally having one of our nicest days in the month of June, and it's right in time where this buzzsaw of a White Sox team is going to play this Cubs pitching staff. But this game has all it takes to be a classic, and then tomorrow it's supposed to be Lucas Giolito going for the Chicago White Sox. So tomorrow's game is going to be really, really fun. But the White Sox, I'm telling you something right now. First of all, how about the swag in this game alone at shortstop with these two teams? Javi Baez and Tim Anderson? Excuse me? That's the coolest, the most fun tandem at shortstop maybe in all of baseball. I mean, you have one guy in Tim Anderson who's kind of arrived at the scene. You have Javi Baez, who was an MVP candidate last year. Both guys flashed the glove. They're so much fun to watch at the plate. This series is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look at that. Jose Abreu versus Anthony Rizzo at first base. That's always really fun. And then, obviously, Eloy, the comp of Eloy versus Chris. I mean, they play different positions, but they're the superstars of your teams. And Eloy has done everything, in my opinion, to really solidify why he was the best player in the Cubs farm system and why it was important for the White Sox to get a player like that with Yoan Moncada and Luis Robert and Jose Abreu and Tim Anderson to make this nucleus go. I'm telling you, the White Sox had some pitching. It sucks what happened to Kopech, but watch when Dylan Cease comes up. It's going to be really interesting. I like what McCann has done for the pitching staff this season for you White Sox fans, and I've not seen Wilson Contreras there. It's kind of worrisome, but you also got to remember what's going on with Wilson and his family in Venezuela and that whole country and just the turmoil that's going on over there. So it's fascinating to see how Joe runs the lineup with all that in the back of his mind and how Wilson plays. And I thought this would be pretty fun, too. We always talk about records. So, obviously, for all you baseball fans, the White Sox and Cubs have played each other in a World Series way back when both teams, in the 1900s. So, here's the all-time regular season record in the modern-day era. And the White Sox have a 2-game lead, having 60 wins over the Cubs' 58. How about this for an interesting stat, though? The Cubs have scored 539 runs, while the White Sox have scored 520. And I wonder if a lot of that has came over the last 4 years with this Crosstown Classic. Now, what's interesting about what's happening today is, I think, not just on paper, but if we were playing MLB The Show or MLB 2009, remember like the old EA Sports one? The Cubs attribute their stats. They're better than the White Sox. The Cubs are like a 94. The White Sox are like an 87, right? Pretty good. Like you can win a lot of games with the White Sox. It's a tougher season for you. The championship is a tougher way to win it in my career mode. But the Cubs are the better team on a video game, right? But right now, on paper, the way they've been playing, the White Sox are right there with them. They look good. They're just not as good of a team. But they could win these 2 games. They could win all 4 of these games coming up in this series. But what's interesting is, over the last few years, this series has been pretty much one-sided, one way or the other. You would have the Cubs either being the dominant team or the White Sox being the dominant team. I think the last time it was really a fun, competitive series was probably 2008 when both teams were in the playoffs. And I was just reminded of the Aramis Ramirez 2 home runs to help the Cubs win that one of those games. It's interesting that how these 2 teams play against each other. And the question always is from the north side of things, right? Where does the White Sox rivalry rank in comparative to, let's say, the Reds, the Brewers, or the Cardinals? And I think it's a little different. I don't think you can say it's the same type of rivalry as the Cardinals or so on and so forth. I think the White Sox to the Cubs, if you're a Cubs fan, is much more like a brother, a sibling. I'm not even going to say little brother. It's a sibling. And there's a lot of tension. There's, at times, when it gets competitive. But for the most part, you pretty much stay out of each other's way and you share everything and there's enough to go around. When it gets really competitive is in the middle of summer, if both teams are good, if somebody has a chance to play spoiler, if they're both trying to get to certain levels, that's where it comes from. But it's also because you are arguing in real life with your sibling. Now, in Chicago, it's a little different because there's a lot of implants, right? But I don't day-to-day interact with Cardinals fans outside of a sports show or Brewers fans outside of a sports show. Again, because we live in such a mecca and such a melting pot that, yeah, it makes sense that you see a lot of different people, especially from the Midwest. But the point being, some of my best friends are White Sox fans. The lovely Nicole Mancha is a Sox fan. My mom is a Sox fan. So, I mean, I used to go to Sox games because they were the cheapest tickets for my abuelo and my father to be able to get to us. But I'm a diehard Cub fan. This is what the city is, though. It's big enough and it loves its sports enough where it mingles around each other. And then you obviously have the legend of Michael Jordan. So it's like it's different. Like it's a different type of rivalry than other sports. And I mentioned this with a friend of the show, Paul Shivari, on one of the last episodes of Sports from the Couch. There is a lot of tension within this rivalry, and maybe if they were to meet in a modern day World Series, it would be a little bit more hectic. But when you really think about it, it's not violent. Like there's always violence at games. Like that's the truth of it. There's always a violent occurrence at games when you've been drinking, wherever. I mean, it happens at Little League games. But the White Sox-Cubs rivalry is not known for violence. There's rivalries in sports across the world that's what you compare it with, that it has that stigma with it. Cubs Sox doesn't really have that. Hell, Cubs Cardinals doesn't really have that. Cubs Brewers definitely doesn't have that. It's a lot of football. I mentioned it to a friend of the show, Paul, San Francisco 49ers and the Oakland Raiders. And like when I said that, it makes you go think that way. Heck, even Dodgers San Francisco. And again, this isn't anything against the fan base, but that's the narrative behind some of these rivalries. You don't get that with Cubs White Sox. And that's weird coming from a city that has the narrative nationally in news-wise and politics of being a violent city. which we all know that's, when you live here, you know the truth of where is the violence and whatnot. But the rivalry itself in those confines really isn't. So I really appreciate this rivalry, especially the older I get, and because it's just a lot of fun. And honestly, it makes for great coverage for me here to be able to talk with each and every one of you, for baseball to mean something on both sides of town in the middle of summer. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like going to the ballpark and watching your favorite team and it be a good experience. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Some nice lemon and honey tea before Cubs' first pitch against the Chicago White Sox. It is the 2019 Crosstown Classic, and you are here leading you into the big game. I appreciate each and every one of you joining us today. Follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333. The network's on Facebook and on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. And youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Get the podcast. Like, rate, review, and shares, guys. It means the world to us. Wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. If you are into interviews with athletes and celebrities, you can get them ad-free before anybody else right here at Mercado Airwaves. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. So I think that pretty much is the breakdown of this series. Now, what it means for both teams right now, legitimately beyond just Cubs White Sox, the White Sox, it's more about the rebuild. It's the measuring stick. You're in this hell week right now, playing the Yankees, playing the Red Sox, playing the Twins, playing the Cubs. So you're measuring yourself now with the top tier teams. And for the Cubs, you're responding. You're supposed to beat this team. Take the White Sox logo out of it. Take the fact that it's a hometown rivalry. You're supposed to win this game. So this series does mean a lot in June, especially in the standings. Now, that's why, to me, I think the Cubs will win game one. And I think the Cubs have a chance to take both games in the series strictly on they perform under pressure very well. And it feels like there is pressure towards the city. Maybe it's manufactured, and it might be fan-driven. Excuse me. But definitely there is pressure for this Cubs team to win this game strictly on the momentum that they've had the last week, which was none. Now, we did see a report that Craig Kimbrell did already pitch in Iowa and 9 pitches and 3 outs. So that's nice to know that that's going to happen in the bullpen. But the problem with this Cubs team right now, as much as it has to do with the bullpen, has to do with these ups and downs that we've seen since last year on this offense. I mean, they were talking about the Colorado series that they scored 18 runs in 3 games. The only problem is 10 of those runs came in 1 game. That is an occurrence that will get you killed in October. Now, maybe you get lucky and in the month of October is a good month for you, like maybe May was for this team, but June has not been a good month for the Cubs. And April was a slow start. So we already seen the pattern. We're 60 games into this. This isn't like, let's wait to see how this out. These are what these teams are. And it's been my concern with the Chicago Cubs from jump. You didn't address the issues of what was lacking on your team. Bullpen and offensive hitting. And what are the 2 things that have hurt this Cubs team this year? Your bullpen and not able to get runs in. But you didn't address it. Now, maybe with Craig Kimbrell, you're able to. But Cub fans, I keep telling you, I'm all in on Kimbrell as well. But don't think that he's going to be the white knight that comes in and saves the day. There was a reason why he was available. There was a reason why he struggled at the end of last season. There was a reason why Boston didn't win the World Series because of him. It's that in spite of thing. Like, a lot of things had to happen for it to drop your way. So I think it's going to be a very interesting series, though. These 2 teams are so well matched, too. And I think next week, tomorrow with the Lucas Giolito, that's going to be an awesome game. But we are almost ready for first pitch, so why don't we? That's pretty much it. Cubs White Sox Crosstown Classic kicks off here tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get out of here, I also want to hit on a couple of other things. First thing, speaking of the White Sox, they have announced that the White Sox will make Guaranteed Rate Field the first MLB ballpark to extend its protective netting all the way to the foul poles. Now, look it. I have a lot of friends here who are going to be meatballs. I'm going to say, pay attention, catch it, so on and so forth. Guys, these Major League Baseball players can't keep up to 115-mile-an-hour balls coming out of these bats. That exit velocity is real, and somebody is going to die if you're not protective. Now, I understand baseball is one of these sports where it is a lot of you do interact a lot with the athlete, and there is chances to get foul balls and for them to throw you stuff and sign balls during. I get all that, and they might still do that during batting practice. They might still do that during the half innings that they lower him down so that Kyle Schwarber can play catch with people. During the game, though, you don't have to not be on your phone. These things are coming out so fast. And look it, I know a lot of you really believe in yourself, and I love it. And that's how humans are. That's how you succeed in life. You have to have confidence. There's a reason why you're watching me talk sports. There's a reason why I talk sports. And there's a reason why these athletes are out there catching these balls. Because they can see it, and we can't. And even they have trouble. They get hit. We've seen pitchers get balls bounced off of their forearm, breaking it. Ribs being broken. Trust me, guys. It will be an obstruction. You will have to get used to it, but you will get used to it. And it's better safe than sorry. When in this country, and I'm not going to get on a political soapbox, but when in this country, policy-wise, are we ever proactive? And then you look at a lot of sports. When are sports in America ever proactive? This is a proactive thing. Get ahead of it now. Get used to it now. But here's the thing. A lot of you aren't going to the ballparks. You're watching them at home. And I think a lot of you forget just how fast and how dangerous it is in certain sections of that ballparks, in all ballparks. Now, again, I'm not going to get here on a soapbox and tell you you're wrong and that you're dumb and that, no, that's not how this works. For thinking that they shouldn't have netting on there. I'm just telling you not only practically, but realistically why you have to do it. And, again, I know some of you do have the reflexes and the hand-eye coordination and the reaction time to keep yourself safe. But you're 1 in 40,000. 1 out of every, 10, 15 people? And it's not just you. It's elderly people. It's babies. It's people walking down the stands. It's somebody getting distracted for 1 second, not even on a cell phone. There's so many things that happen in life. And not only that, we can prevent this, which is where exactly I'm going. So, bottom line, you keep the netting up during the game. You lower it during batting practice and during the half innings. I think you're good. And I promise you fans will get over it. And everything will be A-okay, guys, when it comes to that. But that is not the only news, my friends, that we have. So, let me tell you a little backstory before Cubs-Sox takes over. I used to have this coworker who got into umping and refereeing basketball games for middle school kids, right? And this dude had the biggest power trip I've ever seen in my life. And we're talking about kids. We're not only just kids, umping and refereeing kids that aren't yours, and you're like 47 years old. Okay, right? And sometimes he would tell me it's his duty to keep these teams, players, and family members in check. You're an umpire for Little League, right? Okay. Then he has the goal to say they should be respected more. This is the problem with that type of authority figure that thinks they're the same thing as the product. So why am I talking about all this? Well, this came out from Major League Baseball's Umpire Association, where they went on a long tirade talking about, I believe it was Manny Machado. And look at some of these hashtags. Hashtag disappointed, hashtag lead by example, hashtag not appreciated, hashtag violence, hashtag temper tantrum, hashtag inaction, hashtag not tolerated, hashtag make an example of, hashtag 1-game suspension, hashtag repeat offender, hashtag nonsense, hashtag MOBUA, at MOB, at Padres, at Buster _ESPN. What? Like, look it. I get Joe West wants to be Miley Cyrus with his country albums. I totally get it. And I totally get Angel Hernandez, which is nothing more than he was Billy the Jet. What? Get off social media. Look at Walmart employees, truck drivers, umpires. 3 things Americans are going to report into robots first. Are you, what? And this was my response on Twitter that you guys could follow me at. Drones, robots, digital pitching boxes, that voice from the movie Her, literally anything else to help get rid of these umps that want to be famous and part of the game more than some players. And let's finally keep the spotlight on the talent. Hashtags at MLB. Your umpires. Instagram models do more work than you, are more valuable to society than you are. Now, shout out to every single umpire under the age of 22 who are doing it for a summer job or an internship or some type of college credit, high school credit. Shout out to you guys. It's awesome. It's a pain in the ass because parents suck. But everybody else, you're an umpire. Now, the ones who volunteer, cool. You know what? This is a shtick, but you're umpires. Let us know your thoughts, guys. I mean, Angel Hernandez, Joe West, it's disgusting. And I am so excited for the robots who, for me, when they take over the entire world, I, for one, am excited, ecstatic, and welcoming to our leaders, to our AI leaders, and the demise of anything that has to do with a Joe West-led umpire staff. Let us know, guys, your comments below. But that is it. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Sports from the Couch. It is Cubs versus Sox Crosstown Classic 2019. I really appreciate each and every one of you joining us today. We're about 10 minutes away from first pitch. So let us know who you think is going to win the series. How does the rest of the season play out for both of these teams? And what is your favorite Cubs-Sox memory? Thank you guys all so much. We will see you on the very next episode of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. Make sure you guys follow us all over the universe. We're on Twitter. I'm at mmercado2333. The network's at Mercado Airwaves. You can like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. There you can find our true crime show at Murder, Mysteries, and More. If you're into pop culture, find our pop culture podcast Twitter account at Good Brothers Pod. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. Come play video games with us, guys, at Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Download our podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. And please like, rate, review, and share us. It means so much to us. Thank you to each and every one of you who has. It has really helped grow the brand. And if you want to hear our interviews ad-free and before anybody else with athletes and celebrities, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. A huge shout out to Munch Art Design for powering us here on the network as well. Thank you all so much. Enjoy Cubs versus Sox Crosstown Classic 2019. For everybody here on Mercado Airwaves on Sports from the Couch, I'm Mike Mercado. Enjoy the rest of your night.